August 6th, 2022, Kydyrgali Ongarbayev defeats the legend of arm wrestling John Brzenk in a very intense super match with a score of 3 pins to 1. And when he visits his home country Kazakhstan, he receives a grand welcome with some special gifts. East versus West 4, Yerdalot Sarabay defeats Yusuf from Turkey with a score of 3 pins to 0, and Ongarbayev defeats John Brzenk 3 pins to 0. And when they visit back, they are welcomed in a grand way. So I'll read out a post from Shardara Armsport, which is very interesting and fascinating. Our winning athletes have been awarded with flats from Shardara city. Amazing, amazing stuff. I heard the flats were a 2 bedroom. Ongarbayev Kydyrgali and Sarabay Yerdolot, who defended the honor of the country in the fight between East and West athletes in Istanbul, Turkey on August 6th, were back in the country. So, important words, defended the honor of the country. This is how much pride they take in the sport of arm wrestling. So, our winning athletes were greeted by compatriots by organizing a special event. In Kazakh, a man is named after a man is named by a man. I wonder how much of that is lost in translation. Our great teacher, Karsabayev Arman Romanovich, I want to remind you that Arman is probably the single most important person in creating Shardara arm sport and taking Kazakhstan arm wrestling level to such new heights. So, he took the first speech during the event, congratulated our athletes on their victories, and wished them to always defend the honor of the country at the end of the word. I think it is word or maybe word, a promise, maybe he wants to say. So, this is great stuff. Amazing to see how seriously these guys take the sport of arm wrestling. And I wonder why Artem Morozov was not treated in such a nice way. Maybe because he's not working with Shardara Arm Sports, or maybe because he's not competing in WAF events. I don't know what the reason is. If you know the reason, please mention it in the comments below. And to me, Artem was the player of the night. He defeated Dave Chaffee on the right arm and Cody Spur Merritt on the left arm. Definitely the player of the night. That young man, 24 years old, did some amazing things on August 6th. And I might remind you that this is not the first time Ongarbayev is receiving such gifts. When he defeated the Polish giant in an intense match in Top 8 2019, I'm talking about the match between Ongarbayev and Alex. After that match, when Ongarbayev visited Shardara Amsport in his country Kazakhstan, he received gifts from a businessman, I think. I think it was not from a government. He received a luxurious car and he received an apartment, and he gifted the car to his trainer. He said that my coach deserves it more because he pushed me through those training sessions. He is the one who made me such an athlete. So great, great respect for the sport and for the coach as well. With that topic being covered, I would like to draw your attention to the never-ending debate in arm wrestling world, East versus West, why East gets all the benefits from the sport and why West and some other countries don't. First of all, the most important thing is how seriously you take the sport, how much you respect the sport. And some people like to say that they are just lucky, but it is definitely not like that. Behind luck, there is the iceberg thing, the lot of intense training sessions, sacrifice for decades, respecting the sport for decades without much return, taking it seriously like it is their profession, like it is their religion, like it is their job, taking those things seriously for years and years and probably decades. Then a country gets to such position where they can draw so much benefits from the sport. I've heard a lot of people say that all those guys do in Europe or even in Asia is that they just eat, arm wrestle, and sleep. It is definitely not like that. They have their jobs, and I'm quite sure if you know that China has produced such great athletes, such great Olympic athletes in different sports. But if you like to know the story, you should definitely watch some videos how Chinese young kids are treated. And I am quite sure even in Shardara Arm Sports, when they send a 7-8 year old to train for arm wrestling, when he's working in the gym on the table for hours in a day, I'm quite sure that he's not enjoying those moments. For sure, he would, just like other kids, like to go back to his home and play some video games. But it is not like that. The sacrifice that those kids make from a very young age cannot be and should not be taken away by just saying that those guys are just lucky they get to arm wrestle all they want and this is their profession. And talking about profession, how many arm wrestlers, my question to those people who say that they are lucky just because they all they need to do is arm wrestle, I would like to ask you guys, how many arm wrestlers do you know who are full-time arm wrestlers? I think Engin Terzi is the only one from Turkey. Coach Ray is the only full-time arm wrestler from Latvia, and maybe Ongarbayev is the only full-time arm wrestler. If he is, I'm not sure, from Kazakhstan. And very few people, maybe Levan is the only full-time arm wrestler from Georgia. The list is very short. I'm sure there may be less than 10 people like that in the world. So it is definitely not like that. When Bojidar at 23 years of age, 24 years age is beating world level guys, it is not because he's a full-time arm wrestler. He's a delivery boy and probably works for 8 to 10 hours a week every single day of the week. This is how much he works and wins world championships after that. So it is much more than that. The respect that you give to the sport. If you are showing up drunk on the arm wrestling table, if you are cursing on the arm wrestling table, I'm not sure how seriously you are willing to take the sport. I always like to take some examples from cricket. Those guys are treated like gods, and cricket is treated like religion in India. But when they do not perform well, they get stoned. This is how it works both ways. When you have emotions involved in a game, and you must have emotions involved from the mass population, mass audience, mass fans of the sport, only then you can see such heights where you perform well in a match and you are suddenly a millionaire the next day. And if you do not perform well where you are supposed to perform well, you are going to take a lot of heat. Those two situations happen only when you take the sport seriously, only when you respect it by heart. And there is one more thing that I always like to get back to. Any country that has ever supported their arm wrestlers, I'm talking about government help, I'm talking about such gifts from businessmen and armed sport federations. Any country who does that, they always have strict rules. I bet you cannot name one country that does not respect strict rules and that says that let's treat it like a man. Let's see who is the man. Let's see who is the stronger guy. Ignore the fouls. Let's see who can bury the arm. You will never hear such things in other countries where it is respected at a different level. Strict rules, respecting the sport, taking it up from a young age, creating such facilities for training, not drinking during competitions, behaving responsibility on live streams and YouTube programs, and whenever you are interviewed with someone, not cursing on the table, all of those things combined take a lot of effort. They take a lot of effort, and it is something that you need to train for. Anybody can curse. You have to curb that. So it is not as easy as some people pretend it to be, like those guys just have to arm wrestle. Definitely not like that. When Matt Mask says after Irakli told him that he's not going to compete against him because Matt curses a lot, Matt replies that Irakli should man up. He has been sheltered his whole life. It is definitely not sheltering. It is the respect that you have for that table. It is the respect that you have for that environment. With that being said, I think arm wrestling is moving in a great direction. This channel is moving in a great direction. If you want to purchase some supplements, Old School Labs is the place to go. Link is in the description. Code AWNEWZ for 15% discount. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe, like, and bye-bye.